What you just saw is a tiny teaser of what is to come in the future of Illuvium. They are building what they are calling an MMO Lite, which will one day turn into its own fully fledged MMO, I'm sure. Although personally, I don't think that's that practical, so it might never really go there and just have lots of different games involved. Since I first started talking about Illuvium, everyone was always dreaming of the day that it would become a creature capture MMO. Ultimately, one of the first of its kind that isn't played on a web browser and that you could call AAA. But although that always seemed close, we were wrong, and it was actually quite far away, more in the sense that game development takes a very long time, despite what people might tell you, at least for a game of this quality. Now, until the announcement Illuvium just released, finally MMO is within reach, okay? Now we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm going to tell you what they're referring to when they say MMO Lite, how long I personally think this could actually take to build, and if I think it could rapidly grow the player base of Illuvium. This isn't all super duper positive, but it mostly is. I think we can see from that trailer that it's all very, very exciting. So let's jump into it. Firstly, the teaser is simply a taste. The council actually saw a more extended trailer prototype inside a council meeting. It was a prototype, it wasn't as graphically enhanced as this, but it told a much more detailed picture. It will also cover everything you can do in the game, and in the article, Kieran states that it's hoping to come sometime, I think he even said in January, but really sometime in Q1 of 2025, we will get a massive trailer that will go over every aspect of the MMO Lite and what the game could truly look like. So really, you need to get excited. It's going to have even things that myself and the council hasn't even seen yet, things that they want to add into it as well. So it's going to be really detailed and really interesting. So an MMO Lite, what is that though? Really, it is something closer to Monster Hunter Wilds or Monster Hunter in general or Destiny 2. And so here is some Monster Hunter gameplay. You can see there is a hunter. The graphics are really dim because of the current style of the landscape, and it's usually quite bright. But you have a hunter, they're going in, they're fighting a monster alongside allies. You can see 3 allies there in the game. And basically they're all teaming up to take out this crazy thing, which really fun moveset, some really interesting mechanics. You can break off parts and things like that. I definitely don't think Illuvium is going to go to that extent, not in its first iteration at least. But it's a really amazing game. The problem is that Monster Hunter has been building for 10, 15 years. And the beauty with doing that is you can start to bring monsters and their movesets from older games, enhance the graphics and bring them into newer games. And so your overhead gets reduced every new installment and gives you the room to make new features, quality of life adjustments, other UI adjustments, fix bugs, optimization. It gives you all that time. And Illuvium is not at that point yet. So this first iteration I don't think will look quite as fancy. Or it might visually look pretty amazing, but it won't really be as mechanically advanced as this, I don't think. But eventually it will be. And so it's the perfect first step for Illuvium. The other one is Destiny 2 is quite well known for this sort of stuff. Basically, you go up against hordes and hordes of enemies. Eventually, you fight a big boss enemy. Monster Hunter doesn't really have the hordes of enemies element. And you have all these different abilities and things, and you can work together with your team and things like that. Very similar. You get up in a lobby of people, then you jump into a map, do all the quest missions, explore a little bit or whatever, and then jump out with all your rewards, your loot, all the rest of it. And this is really where I think Illuvium is heading in the short term, where they're going to do hordes of enemies. You're going to fight the Leviathan boss, all that sort of stuff. And then you jump out with your loot, maybe enhance your gear, skill trees and things, which we'll talk about in a minute. And then you go back in and do another run. And really, that cooperative element is going to be a really big part of it. And you're going to have all of the different bosses, but we'll talk about that. So the lobby system will be the big thing, but really it'll be this sort of high action, using your abilities, sending out Illuvials, have a team of 6 maybe. You're really getting those Pokemon vibes as well. So even though it's similar, I would say it's similar to Destiny 2 and Monster Hunter in a certain sense, really it's going to be its own game, which is even more exciting than anything like that. So people that love these genres might want to try it, because you're not going to make a Destiny 2 clone and people are going to leave Destiny 2 and play it, right? It needs something new that people actually want to try out and see what it's like, okay? So the other part of this is Illuvium has a list of everything that's completed and pending completion. You can see that the alluvials, crafting system, weapons, questing system, marketplace, social region, story, and story are complete. Multiplayer armor progression, leviathans, NPCs, rangers, and melee combat are in progress. The story does need more chapters and things like that as well. And raids have not been started. Now, I don't think this tells quite a complete picture, honestly. I think the problem is that even though crafting system says complete, in this enhanced game mode, obviously it needs to be way more in depth. Now, the beauty is we have a lot of the assets complete, all of the different ores and things you can find, all these stat adjustments that you can do, all the different weapons and things. A lot of that has been built out in terms of what the NFTs look like, the kind of like crafting skill tree sort of a thing, and that how that looks like. All of the progression systems, what they might look like, has already been pretty much the legwork has been done. It just needs to be kind of added into the game. So I see that, but there's definitely more to be added. Not necessarily to alluvials just yet, but for everything else, there's definitely more to be added. So the other thing is raids have not been started, and that is the really big thing. But there is a lot of other stuff we do need to talk about. So firstly, Alluvial says complete here, but it will need additional move sets, okay? So they will need, like, currently you have Alluvials and Seer has his spin and he has his auto attack. But he might need another move where he, like, rolls around the map or jumps and slams into the ground in case he becomes one of the bosses, or just to make it more interesting to fight him. Like in Destiny 2, I don't think their movesets are too in-depth, but every Alluvial definitely needs at least one additional attack. I would say that that's a lot easier to do than making the alluvial or doing all the VFX and stuff like that. And so hopefully it won't take too long. But at the same time, we do need these sorts of elements, and things like Ramfire don't really fly yet. So we need to add all of those sorts of systems as well. Also, lots of Leviathans need to be made to make this interesting. And we can see the first major Leviathan reveal in the cinematic trailer right here. You can't deny it looks incredible. It looks really interesting, okay? The Leviathan is stunning and scary, but you can't just have one of them. You need a ton of Leviathans with different movesets. You need to make them visually distinct as well. If they all kind of look the same, it'll feel a little bit weird. They need to feel unique and feel interesting, and they need to make you want to go in and play and battle them. And the fundamental game loop itself will take the longest amount of time in all this. It needs to get it right, okay? This is the most important part of this entire thing. Now, that being said, there are a lot of positives here as well, since we don't need to redo like 80%, we don't need to redo basically any of the work we've done. We can incorporate all of it. For example, we effectively have 5 regions already complete. As Tiger Boreal and Halcyon Sea seem pretty close to completion. Tiger's basically there, or so I hear. And the other thing is the internal breach prototype. You guys haven't seen it, but I have. It has some really great horde and waves systems in it already, where you kind of like, so I've seen and heard and stuff like that. You basically run in and there's like a bunch of alluvials that are spawned. You have to take them out. Then you go to the next part and so on and so forth. But the fact that they could get that up so quickly, and it looked like it was working into a pretty cool, interesting prototype, means that they can add that in for this MMO Lite as well. So a lot of this stuff has already been like analyzed, and they're like, okay, yes, we can achieve this. We can achieve this within this time scope. We know that because we've done it, well, done a prototype at least. And so that's why they're making this announcement, and you cannot discount that fact. That's very, very important, okay? So the other thing is what's most important for this upgrade in its entirety is the progression systems. They need to be good. This is the major thing we're missing right now, where they need to be massively improved. Here's a good example is Path of Exile's 2 skill tree feels massive, but it's actually really easy to use. Now, it needs to be accessible, but more importantly, it needs to be plentiful. Right now in Illuvium, you can buy a few alluvials and go in and basically capture anything within a few days. And then once you've got every alluvial, you're done. We have to get rid of that sort of notion. You need to like, not endlessly upgrade your character, but you definitely need some depth and some different variations and things as well. Like maybe you become a really good bow user and you enhance all those abilities But then for this particular Leviathan, you need to be a really good warrior or something. And so you need to enhance all the abilities in a different skill tree or make a second or third character. That is where the beauty of this sort of progression systems actually come from. And Illuvium needs to get that right. And that's why I think it's going to take a little bit of time, is getting these systems correct so the game is fun, compelling, and has really good end game systems, which will keep players coming back for more and really boost that sort of revenue side of things as well. Now, I think this is a polished and fluid game experience after about 2 years worth of time. So late 2026, I think this is the best crypto game there is. I mean, there are going to be others that are really, really amazing as well. But really, this is going to be like, you go and look at crypto gaming, like, can I can have a series of web browser games. What do I have in terms of AAA games? So there's only going to be 3 or 4. Off the grid is probably going to be one of them, Wilder World and Illuvium. And Illuvium will be at that point, I think, at the end of 2026. But that is not all, okay? It seems like because of the sort of work they've done on Breach and all of the other complete work they already have in their pocket and things like that, I think it seems likely there's some level of playable testnet prototype, at least, in the end of 2025. I know this sounds crazy and it's not going to be the best game in the world and the progression systems might not be fleshed out, but you're going to be able to, definitely think by the end of 2025, you're going to be able to go in, you're going to be able to fight through the raid, battle a Leviathan, maybe get some rewards, I don't know, or participate on a leaderboard, I have no idea. But you're going to be able to experience this, or at least videos are going to be abundant from within the team of what this looks like and them experiencing this. And I think that's going to be really exciting for Illuvium. Not to mention this trailer at the start of 2025 as well. So Kieran in his article also states that he hopes to raise capital in March of 2025. This is pretty important at this point, but what else is bullish is the DAO burn rate has actually been reduced to $900,000 a month from about $1.4 million. And with the treasury being combined with the with the in-game rewards pool, the DAO now only requires about $2 million in a month to sustain runway. Now, that seems like a lot of money, and obviously it is a lot of money, and maybe the Arena Gauntlet does really well, and a lot of people come in with the pack opener and stuff like that. But really think about it. If we get a bunch of players coming in for tournaments, the arena and stuff like that, and with Illuvium Beyond Future Waves and things, and we're only making, let's say, $1 million a month, you actually extend the runway by 50%. That's still really good. And then you do a capital raise and you're extending the runway by 50% on top of that. Let's say the capital raise brings the runway to 3 years. And then $1 million a month extends to 4.5 years. You don't think within 4.5 years you can double the amount of revenue you're earning? You 100% can. And so that's kind of how this whole flywheel works. And I'm excited to stick it out with Illuvium for the long term here. Like, at times I was like, this is really hard, the views are really bad and stuff like that, but I still love talking to you guys, helping out the community and making as many tools and guides as I can to support the project. And with this new vision, I'm excited to talk about and speculate about things that are coming in the future, which I haven't been able to do since the launch. Like, I haven't really been able to talk about that much. Maybe the leaks will return. That's so exciting. If you think that's going to be fun, leave a comment down below. I think that's going to be a whole lot of fun. Okay. And like this new burn rate and the amount of revenue the DAO receives and things like that. Overall, this is 300% better than 6 months ago. Think about that. The financial and the health of the DAO has improved by 300% in under 6 months. That is good news. The team knows what they're doing. They're working hard, or at least they've had some trouble with the game design in the past, but they're in a much better place now. So will Illuvium A New Dawn bring enough players to help Illuvium stand out from the crowd? And what does it need to achieve this? It needs these things. It needs a fun and challenging gameplay loop. The multiplayer needs to be engaging with really good cooperative components. The progression systems need to be engaging, but detailed. The game needs to continue optimizing. Low NPCs will enable many countries such as Brazil, which are integral to Illuvium's future success and the ability to gain enough players. something off the grid also needs to work on. So this isn't just siloed to Illuvium. It's many, many modern games are having this problem. I think Path of XLT is a good example of a game that does really well on a wide range. My Steam Deck runs it perfectly, okay? And that should tell you a lot. So controller support is also a must. Monster Hunter is way better with the controller, and if those sorts of people start looking at Illuvium for whatever reason, it needs to have the fundamental things gamers are used to, which is one of the main lessons we learned from the monetization strategy Illuvium's had in the past. Now, if possible, the last thing it needs is to get a Steam listing. I've got a newfound respect for what it means to be on Steam for a video game, and unless they're on there, they're invisible to about 50-60% of the gaming market. On PC at least, not talking about consoles here. It needs to get a Steam listing if it can, and I think they should start working on that right now. Now, I hope you learned something today. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you enjoyed this, please don't forget to add my referral code on the Illuvidex. It's Scoriox, SCORIOX, and check out this video and how Illuvium is finally doing things right when it comes to the Illuvium arena, and you'll see why I've never had more faith in the team than I do right now.